Welcome, Lumineers and fans of the happiest card game on Earth. My name's Jonty. You've just been putting the inkwell alongside all of the Emerald cards from Ursula's Return. Emerald has had a huge glow up this set, to be honest with you. It's one of my favourite colours, has been since the game came out, but there's some really juicy little pieces in here that we're going to take a look at today. We start off with a 5-costed inkable 3/4 for 3 lore, Crikey, or Cricky, I think it's Cricky, Lucky Cricket, Storyborn ally with spreading good fortune. When you play this character, your other characters get +3 strength this turn. It's a rare card with art by Heidi Noonhofer. This is good, I think. 5-slot Emerald is super contentious. There's loads of just really fun things to play at 5 in Emerald. There's Lucifer, there's Kuzco, there's one of the new Megaras I think is maybe okay. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff here. I don't mind this one at all. First of all, it is inkable, which is always a plus in Emerald. The stat line is fine. It still has the Medusa problem, but otherwise it's fine. 3 lore for some reason this thing has, but also this comes down on 5 and then instantly allows your Cursed Merfolks that have stuck around, your Flynn Riders, all of the stuff that, let's be honest, Emerald doesn't have a great strength number. They can then start to clean up if they need to. If you're playing into Amethyst and they manage to get a castle to stick, it's a big problem against Emerald decks because you just don't have the power to get rid of them, and then you're just purely racing, and their answers to your characters are much stronger than your answers to their location. This instantly comes down on 5 the turn after their castle is played and makes all your stuff. Yes, granted, you have to take a turn off from questing, which isn't something you love to do in Emerald, but if you feel like you need to, you can use Cricky's ability here just to kind of clean up the board a little bit, and then you're left with a relatively decent quester, assuming it doesn't get Medusa the next turn. If this had Ward, I think it would be insane. As it stands, I think this is actually quite a playable rare. Next up then, a 3-costed uninkable 2/2 for 1 lore, Diablo Devoted Herald, Floriborn ally. Floriborn? That's half Flood and half Story, I think. Floodborn ally with shift, discard an action card, evasive, and circle far and wide during each opponent's turn. Whenever they draw a card, whilst this character is exerted, you may draw a card. Legendary card here with art by Alice Persone. I apologise if you can hear that noise in the background. My kid's having a pretty intense Lego session right now. Yep, I think this is okay. I'm not sure about this one. This is one of the ones I've really got to play around with it, to be honest with you. They obviously think this is pretty impressive because of just how much is going on with it. The fact that it's only a 2/2. This dies to everything other than just getting hit with a non-evasive character, basically. All of the steel removal just cleanly takes this out, no problem. The shift, you're probably not going to shift this as much as you like. Having to have a song or an action in your hand is pretty rough. Yes, you're probably getting it back straight away if you're shifting with this, because as you pass the turn, you will draw as they draw for their turn. Magical Christmas Land, this is exerted. For some reason, lives, they play a friends on the other side and you draw 2. This is really great. But otherwise, I don't know. I just think it's a bit too squishy for the amount of work you're going to have to put this to really get this online. If you want this out sort of on a decent curve and working straight away, you've put 3 cards into this. You have the 1-drop Diablo, you have something you've discarded for the shift, and you've got this. And there's very good chance that this sits there exerted. You draw a card from it on the beginning of their turn, and then they Strength of Rage and fire it, or let the Storm Rage on or something. So, yeah, I'm not so convinced on this one. I know a few people are hotter on this than I am, I think. But yeah, I'm not seeing it myself. We also have the 1-costed inkable shift target for this one, a 1/2 with 1 lore, Diablo Maleficent Spy, Storyborn ally with Scout Ahead. When you play this character, you may look at each opponent's hand. Common card with art by Eli Hori. So, this is of note because it is the shift target for the previous Diablo. They kind of work well together. You can play this down and see if they have the removal for the big guy before you play it. Don't mind that. Otherwise, the 1 cost in Emerald is getting a little bit contentious now. Cursed Merfolk still probably one of the best cards in the game. We've also got the Pegasus shift target that we're going to look at in a moment that I really like. And especially against Emerald Amethyst, you've got a lot of decent Amethyst 1-drops as well. I feel like this might struggle to find a slot in the deck, but I don't hate it. I still think it's a pretty solid card. I just don't think it's quite good enough than the top-end stuff we're currently playing. 4-costed inkable 3/3 for 2 lore, Gunther Interior Designer, Dreamborn ally with Sad-Eye Puppy. When this character is challenged and banished, each opponent chooses one of their characters and returns that card to their hand. This is common card with art by Anderson Mahansky. This is a massive trap, this. I mean, there's literally trap on the board, on the card. There's a trapdoor there. In the same way that the Milo from the previous set is a huge trap, you don't want to let people pick stuff up, especially if they, well, sometimes you do. You don't want to let them choose what they pick up. That's the big thing that makes this card poor, in my opinion. This is, comes down on 4, quest for 2. Next turn, they quite easily kill it and then pick up their, I'm trying to think of anything that's got good, Medusas, Tremaines, Monstrous Dragons. All these will come a little bit later in the game, sure, but like giving them the option to pick stuff up that has an ETB that they can gain the value out of from this card, it's just not good enough. I think this might see some draft play because obviously the ETBs are fewer and further between. Otherwise, this is perfectly acceptable quester. That is, then, when board tempo is huge in draft, this actually could be pretty good, but this certainly doesn't see constructive play. Next up, 2-costed Inkable 2/3 for 1 lore, Gus, Champion of Cheese, Storyborn Ally, common card with art by Maddie Schilt. Cool, great, joining piece of art with Jacques that we'll see in a moment, but otherwise, just a perfectly acceptably statted vanilla. 4-costed Inkable 3/3 with 1 lore, Hades. Haven't got the English version of this one yet, unfortunately, but it is a Storyborn villain, something else. And you have the ability to exert this card, then choose another character that you control, banish that character, and then play a card with the same name for free. So it's kind of like giving everything pseudo shift, I suppose. You're still down a card. The only real difference is that the card that you play can't exert straight away because it will need to dry, unlike the shift. But basically, this gives you an option now in Emerald and all the colours that care to play alongside Emerald for all of your big things that don't shift to now sort of pseudo shift. So I'm looking at the 7-costed Ursula from set 1. Actually quite a playable card. I think at the moment the Ursula line is probably the best one with this. The 2-drop Ursula, and to a lesser extent the 3-drop Ursula. Once they've kind of done their thing, they're becoming a lot less useful. This can come down on 4 on turn 5, then drop down that 2/8. Yes, that 2/8 then probably gets Medusa. You're gonna get bored of hearing me say that. But yeah, I think this one can see play. I do rate this higher than the Mickey Mouse Trumpeter from last set that has a similar sort of pseudo ability that costs a couple of lore but just lets you play anything down. Doesn't really see much play. I think this one is a little better than that, but again, still maybe a bit too fringe to actually have a sort of comfortable and consistent deck built around it. 3-costed Inkable 2/3 for 2 lore. Hey, Storyborn Ally. So, again, I'm using a translation for this one, but this is basically a catch-up mechanic. I think the first one of its kinds, very common in white cards in Magic. Basically, when this character is played, if an opponent has more ink than you can take the top card of your deck and add it to your Inkwell Exerted. So, yeah, if you're playing across something that's ramping really heavy, or if you just play this a little later in the game and you've missed a turn, this is really quite solid. I don't hate the fact that it's just a 2/3 for 2 lore being left behind. It's a perfectly acceptable body. I think of this very similar to Benja, basically same body. It doesn't always hit an item, but you still don't mind sometimes just throwing it down as a lore gainer, and I think Hey is exactly that here. Sometimes you just might always have more ink than your opponent, but a lot of the time, worst case, on the draw turn 4, you can play this and ramp because they'll have 4 ink. You'll have 3 at the start of your turn. You can play this before you ink for the turn, and then still ink for the turn. That then puts you on 5. In a lot of Emerald decks, that's enough. That is enough lore. At the moment, you're obviously not want to play this on 3 unless you're against something that's really heavily ramping, but the Emerald slot in 3 is very strong. You've got kits, you've got Deceiver of all Ursulas. If you're playing in Amethyst, you've got Fox. A lot of good stuff on 3, but I don't hate this on 4, allowing you to ramp up into your end game and just keeping that card advantage in your hand. Yeah, I think it's pretty solid uncommon. 3-costed Inkable 1/3 with 2 lore, Hera, Queen of the Gods, Storyborn Queen Deity, Ward, and your characters gain Zeus. The characters named Zeus gain Ward, and your characters named Hercules gain Evasive. Rare card with art by Raquel Villanueva. Interesting one, I guess, for like a Hercules typal deck. There's a lot of good Hercules and Zeus stuff now in Emerald and Steel. Maybe there's a hero sub-deck in Steel Emerald that this could fit into, even though it's not a hero, but, you know, Zeus... Hercules is, maybe Zeus isn't even. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm just trying to make this work, and it's not very good. It could see playing in a typal deck that's quite fun, but I'm not sure about the competitive aspects of this one. 3 costed inkable, 1/4 for 2 lore. Jacques, Connoisseur of Climbing, Storyborn ally. When you play this character, choose an opposing character against Reckless. This is a common card with art by Maddie Schultz. It's the one that goes alongside Gus. Looks great together. Fine, probably very good in draft. The stat line's interesting on this one. Giving stuff Reckless is not the worst mechanic in the game, but I don't rate it as high as others maybe. Yes, they can't quest, which is great, and if you can throw this down against a Bell or a Tamatoa or something like that, it's superb. But anything else, you know, a lot of cards are built so that they can quest or challenge, and you're making one of them challenge. Cool, they're going to kill one of your things. Putting this down onto an empty board and giving an opponent Reckless is fine, but, you know, you're not in a great state if that's what's happening. So, yeah, maybe not. 3 costing Emerald there's loads better stuff, I think. 5 costed uninkable 3/3 with 2 lore. Jasmine... Desert Warrior, I think it is. This one says when you play her or when she quests, opponents discard a card. So it's very similar to Lucifer from a previous set. He's also an uninkable 5 cost, but he's a 2/2. And he lets them discard 2 cards or an action when played. So if Jasmine can stick around, you're going to get more and more value out of her. But the stat line suggests that she probably won't stick around an awful lot after turn 5. Again, is Medusa, unfortunately. But still could be a top end in a slightly more discard heavy Emerald build as opposed to you know, some of the other 5 drops we're looking at, like Cricky before. 3 costed inkable 3/6 with 2 lore. Megara Captive Cynic. When you play this character, choose and discard a card or banish this character. Common card with art by, this one's a bit small for me, Nguyen, I think that is. I've definitely butchered that. This one's really interesting, actually. I don't think it's a constructed card, but I would really want to see how this performs in draft. You're basically going a card down for a body that is going to be very difficult to be dealt with in a limited environment. 3/6 that will most likely get you 4, 6, maybe even 8 lore. Before it's completely dealt with. I think this is very playable in a limited environment. Probably doesn't really slot into a constructed deck, though. There is obviously some steel stuff that cares about you discarding, but there isn't really a huge payoff for that. But, you know, if that does continue getting support, then there probably is an Emerald Steel deck that maybe doesn't mind this one. We'll have to wait and see. Another Megara, another 5 Emerald as well. We're getting all the choices for 5-drop Emeralds in this set. 5 costed. Inkable 4/4 with 2 lore. Megara Liberated 1 Ward. And people always do the craziest things. Whenever you play a character named Hercules, you may ready this character. Uncommon card with art by Yi Yang and Raquel Villanuevo. This is pretty good. Obviously wants to go in a Hercules deck, wants to go in that Emerald Steel Hercules deck that's seemingly a thing now. You know, this could come down on 5, turn 6. You could probably play 2 Hercules, maybe, depending on what you've got in your hand. This can quest for 6 lore. Yeah, it's pretty good in that. I don't think it sees much play anywhere else, but outside of Hercules. But within the Hercules package, this is a really solid uncommon. 3 costed inkable 2/4 with 2 lore. Pain, Immortal Sidekick, Storyborn ally, uncommon card with art by Oggy Christiansen. Fine, it's a slightly strangely statted vanilla. The Panic is the one that has the ability, but I don't think it's very good, so we kind of have to think of this as that. I don't think these particularly work well enough to start playing them with the other 2 yet. Maybe it's another thing, much like Flotsam and Jetsam, that we just have to kind of keep an eye on. But for now, I don't see it. Also note, I spent like 5 minutes in Photoshop. These art don't line up. You'd think they would. The Pain is here, look, on this art. Panic is here on this art, and Pain's butt is on Panic's art, but they don't line up. It's not they are 2 separate drawings, but they're still really great. Awesome art, just not very impressive card. See? But it's not quite the same because the Pain's tail is down on this one, so Panic's harm is up. So it's close, but no cigar. 4 costed inkable 3/3 with 2 lore. Panic, Immortal Sidekick, Storyborn ally. Reporting for duty. While this character is exerted, if you have a character named Pain in play, your villain characters can't be challenged. Again, Augie Christensen here doing uncommon art. The problem with this one is it protects villains, yet requires 2 non-villains to be on the board and online to work. So you have to have Pain Out, you have to have Panic Out and Exerted, and then another villain Exerted before this is really doing anything. And I just feel like that's quite a few hoops to jump through to really warrant playing these 2 in the deck, unfortunately. Maybe it looks like Hades is going to ramp up to be the next bad guy in the next few sets. They may well get a lot more sort of Pain, Panic, Hades, and villain support. These ones then could come back into the front lines, but at the moment, unfortunately, I don't quite see it. Here's one I do love: 5-costed Inkable 3/3 with 2 lore in Emerald, Pegasus Cloud Racer, Floodborn ally, Shift 3, evasive, and when you play this character, if you used Shift to play him, your characters gain evasive until the start of your next turn. Uncommon card that should be a super rare, and Brian Weiss doing awesome art here. Wow, comes down on 3 quite comfortably after the 1-drop Pegasus. I mean, just think about the perfect line here. 1-drop Pegasus. Turn 2, 2 Cursed Merfolk. Turn 3, this, turn everything sideways. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Actually, no, Cursed Merfolk turn 1 that stays alive. Pegasus on 2 would be better for lore. So 1, 2, turn 3. Then turn 3 is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's 8 lore on turn 3 and a board of evasive characters. Woo-wee. Love to see it. Obviously, that's the real sort of top end of what this deck can do. Lower down, though, I'm happy playing this whenever, really. The only caveat here is that you have to have the Shift to get the ability. Otherwise, it's fine. It's an evasive quester for 2. But really, to get Hop on working, he needs to Shift, which means the 1-drop Pegasus is going to have a huge target on its head, knowing that getting rid of that will shut down a lot of the playability of this larger one. There's only a couple of cards that have this Shift ability needed, but I do think it's the one thing that slightly holds them back. But I still think this is a great card. Shouldn't be uncommon. Can't wait to throw 4 of these into a deck and see what happens. And here's the target for it: a 1-costed Inkable 1/1 with 1 lore, Pegasus Gift for Hercules, evasive common. Again, art by Brian Weiss, killing the Pegasus looks here. I think that if you're playing Pascal in your deck right now, this is an instant upgrade. Chances are Pascal is 99% of the time evasive. Pegasus is 100% of the time evasive. It's a very small gain, but I do think it's better. And until we get a Pascal Floodborn, Pegasus again continues to just be a straight up upgrade, unfortunately, for our little purple boy. But yeah, I'm playing 2 Pascals at the moment. I am very much wanting to try 3 of this instead, and 3 of the Shift one, and just see if that does much to the playability of the deck. So yeah, excited to try this one. I think it's great. Pegasus looks like he's fine. 2-costed Uninkable 2/3 with 1 lore, Pete, Born to Cheat, Streamborn villain Musketeer. I clobber you whenever this character quests while he has 5 strength or more. Return chosen character with 2 or less to their player's hand. Super rare card with art by Carlos Lucy. I think Pegasus and this had their rarities swapped around. I don't understand why this is super rare. This is borderline unplayable. Comes down on 2. Next turn, you use the Shift Queen to make him big enough, maybe, and then it bounces a 2 back, but it only quests for 1. Like, what? I don't know why it's uninkable. I don't know why it's super rare. This needed to quest for 2 or 3 for me to care about it. I just don't. Another Pete, 4-costed Inkable 1/5 with 2 lore, Pete Rotten Guy, Storyborn villain Musketeer. Uncommon card with art by Stefano Zanchi. Just a perfectly statted vanilla, really. Just sits there and quests a couple of turns. Quite playable in draft, I think. Alright, here's a fun one. Lots of writing on this one. 9-costed Inkable 6/6 with 3 lore, Prince Philip, Floodborn Hero Prince with Shift 6, evasive, and whenever you play this character, banish opposing characters that are damaged. So yeah, really quite like this. Is a one-sided board wipe if you can pull it off. There's definitely a line here with the 4-casted Prince Philip we're going to look at in a moment, who I don't love, but is obviously a shift target for this. The Chief Bogo, that when you play a Floodborn, pings everything for 1, and then you can play this down and wipe your opponent's board, basically, and you've left behind with a really quite great quester, an evasive quester for 3, 6/6, really good. Gets past Medusa, gets past the Zeus, gets past a lot of stuff swinging into it. I think this is really good. I mean, the only downside to this is that it's expensive, and its shift targets at the moments aren't fantastic, but this just gets better every time they print a better Prince Philip that it can shift onto. I think this is really good. I think I really wanted Cheshire Cat to do well, the big evasive Cheshire Cat that pings off stuff that's damaged. I think this is just an absolute upgrade for this, and I think could see play. I think this is good. So here's the target for it then: a 4-costed uninkable 3-throw for 2 lore Prince Philip, Warden of the Woods, Dreamborn Hero Prince with Shining Beacon. Your other hero characters gain Ward. This is a rare card with art by Mike Parker. Yeah, I mean, this is similar to the Aurora from set 1 that doesn't really see any play, so I'm not too sure why this would. The only reason you're probably playing this is to get the big prince down. 2 of these on the board, I guess, gives them both ward, but yeah, I think this is there just to kind of funnel into the larger one. Otherwise, I don't think I would play this. 1-costed inkable 2-1 for 1 lore, the Fates. Only 1 eye, Storyborn Ally, and all will be seen. When you play this character, look at the top card of each opponent's deck. Common card. With joint art by John Densk and Hayley Evans. Beautiful art, love this one, love the character, the Fates. I think the 3 of them are fantastic. I don't know if they're named separately. I kind of thought we would see these on separate cards with sort of like a Huey, Dewey, Louie thing going on, but we can have them together, that's fine. They look awesome. Abilities fine as well. Just like I said before, there's so much good stuff in Emerald on 1-drop now. I don't think this finds a home in Constructed. Probably doesn't see draft play either much, really, because you're looking at a random card that somebody's picked for 3 minutes ago. It's not like you're really going to be able to telegraph their play style by looking at the top card. Maybe helps in a Ursula deck, this on 1, Ursula on 2, you've got a really good idea of what's coming up, or maybe the other way around, Ursula on 2, this the next turn, whether or not they're going to pick stuff off. But yeah, I don't know. There's just other stuff to be playing in 1, I think, sadly. 4-costed inkable 2-4 with 1 lore, the Muses, Proclaimer of Heroes, Storyborn Ally with Ward, and the Gospel Truth. When you play a song, you may return chosen character with 2 or less to their player's hand. This is a rare card with art by Brittany Hackett. Really like this one, to be honest with you. I think in the right matchups, this probably replaces Rabbit in an Emerald Amethyst deck. I know that probably seems like sacrilege, but if I'm playing against an aggro deck and I can play on turn 3 an Ursula Deceiver of All, and then on turn 4 I can put this down and sing anything with the Deceiver of All, basically, and bounce 2 things back. I can sing a Mother Knows Best and bounce 4 things back. Absolutely crushes any sort of aggro tempo. I really like this. I think this probably does see home in the deck, and I think I'm going to play this alongside a couple of rabbits, actually, because the card draw in that deck, yes, the rabbit is really great, but there's a lot of other stuff going on. I mean, maybe even something like Goat starts trickling down for this kind of thing. It really depends on how sort of controller you want to get with it, but I really dig this card. I think this is really good. 5-costed inkable 4-7 with 1 lore, Tor, Florist, Dreamborn Ally, common card with art by Anderson Mahansky. Sure, just a big old body, nothing more really to say about that one. 3-costed inkable 0-5 with 2 lore, Zeus, Mighty Lightning Bolts, Mr. Lightning Bolts, excuse me, Storyborn King Deity, target practice. Whenever this character challenges another character, he gets strength equal to the chosen strength of another character, or the strength of another chosen character, excuse me. So basically, it's a super rare card with art by Monique Schilder. Yeah, so it's a whatever you like 5, basically. Whatever's on the board, opponent's cards, your cards, whoever's got the biggest thing on there, this is basically matches it. Only when challenging, so it does still, unfortunately, die to a lot of stuff. And also, turn 3, this comes down. Turn 4, most likely kills whatever it likes. Or quests if there's not much else going on. But after that, very easy to get rid of. Same problem that we have with any of these 0 strength characters, and also locations, is that yes, you're making them take a turn off. Yes, they're having to turn their stuff sideways, which sometimes can be enough, especially if we're looking at playing some of the challenge matter stuff, which isn't really an Emerald thing. But at any point when this is turned sideways, it's just very easy to just sort of get rid of it and clean it up. So it's the only thing I love about the card. Otherwise, I think it's really good fun. I think a 3-drop big body, most likely big body, as big a body as the board can take, basically, is actually pretty good. So maybe this does see some play in a slightly more sort of challenge-focused deck, but I'm not sure whether that's really what Emerald is wanting to do. We move on. 2-costed inkable action dodge. Why this isn't called Duck, I'll never know. Chosen character gains Ward and Evasive until the start of your next turn. Common card with art by Vuta Brunel. Yeah, cool. Probably drafts. Otherwise, isn't seeing any play. Just these actions that just give a condition for it's just not worth the card in the deck, I don't think. But sure, okay, I dig it. There might be something you really want to keep alive, but I still don't think you run this in a constructed deck to do so. But it might just let your one big bomb stay alive a turn in draft, and I can get behind it for that reason. 2-costed inkable action, make the potion, choose one, banish chosen item, and deal 2 damage to chosen damage character. Common card with by LOD Mondoloni. Beautiful art, absolutely gorgeous looking card here. And again, I will happily draft this. You know, it's uninkable, yes, but being able to pick one is pretty good. I would draft deal 2 damage to something. Oh, it's 2 damage to damaged character. Well, it might help you finish something off. But yeah, otherwise isn't that great, unfortunately. Great card, though. 8-costed uninkable action song, Under the Sea, with Sing Together 8, and put all opposing characters with 2 or less on the bottom of their players' decks in any order. This is a rare card with art by Dylan Bonner. Put all opposing characters with 2 less and less on the bottom of their players' decks in any order, so I assume that means you get to pick the order. I never noticed that first time round. Not that it particularly matters too much at the moment, but I think that might be the first time that's happened. Okay. I just don't like the Sing Together cards, basically. I just don't think they're going to be as playable as some people think. I think the fact that this is an 8-costed uninkable, I'm going to tell you what's going to happen if I play this in my deck. I'm going to have one of these in my opening hand. I'm going to mulligan it and a 5-drop away, and I'm going to draw 2 copies of this. That's what's going to happen. Anytime there's just a big uninkable brick, I guarantee I see it by all of them by turn 2, and my hand is just dead. That's my only real problem with this. The ability is fantastic. If you can pull this off against a good chunk of decks, this is doing a lot of damage. But I feel like this is just going to be a dead card in your hands so often. 1-costed inkable action, Ursula's Trickery. Each opponent may choose and discard a card. For each opponent who doesn't, you may draw a card. Uncommon card with art by Matthew Robert Davis. Could see some multiplayer play, but otherwise not particularly impressed by this one. Anytime you give the opponent the option, they're going to pick the one that's worse for you. They will, if they've got one thing they really need to keep, they'll let you draw. If you're desperate to draw a card, they'll find something to discard. It's just how it goes, unfortunately. Great bit of story going on here, though. Love it. Hope we get some sort of video or animatic or blog post with all of this written up in soon. I think that'd be a really good way to finish off the set. 5-costed inkable action song, We Don't Talk About Bruno. Return chosen character to their player's hand. Then that player discards a card at random. This is a rare card with art by Julia Riva. So this is Sudden Chill and Mother Knows Best on the same card. Mother Knows Best is 3, Sudden Chill is 2, this costs 5. The math adds up. I dig this. I think this is pretty good. I don't know whether or not it just replaces those 2 cards. There is something to be said about the cheaper cost of them being a little bit more sort of modular here. You're not playing it until a little bit later in the game unless you're playing some singers. What I do like about this, though, is if you manage to get them down to an empty hand, the chosen card that they're picking up is the one they're going to discard at that point, and I kind of like that. At that point, it just becomes a Dragonfire. So I do think this could see some play in a real discard-heavy deck, but I don't think it completely just replaces the stuff that it already does. I think this is going to be maybe like a 2-of in a deck that can squeeze it in. 2-costed uninkable item, Hidden Inkcaster. When you play this item, draw a card, and all cards in your hand count as having the inkable symbol. This is a common card with art by Adam Fenton. Don't know why this is uncommon. I've talked about this before. This card is banned in Magic, basically. Like, it's not an ideal 1-to-1, but the very similar stuff to this is broken. It just allows you to do some very broken stuff. Now, we've talked about this one quite a bit on the show on a Monday night, This Week in Ink. Check it out. I don't think this means you can play a very greedy Emerald deck now. I just think it adds some consistency to the Emerald decks that were struggling beforehand. The fact that it replaces itself is fantastic in items as well. Emerald Sapphire item package coming, perhaps. 2-costed inkable item in Emerald as well. Signed contract. Fine prints. Whenever an opponent plays a song, you may draw a card. Uncommon card with art by Andrew Penner. This is inkable. It had to be inkable. This is the most sideboardy card I've ever seen in my life. There are decks that will never play a song, and there are decks that will play 2 songs every turn. You know very quickly which one of those it is, and you can get this out on board and start getting value off it if you need to. I think this is probably a 2-of in Emerald, perhaps. Maybe I'm being a bit bullish on it, but we'll see. 3-costed inkable item Vision Slab. Danger revealed at the start of your turn. If an opposing character has damage, gain 1 lore, and trapped damage counters can't be removed. Uncommon card with art by Jonas Petruscus. Yeah, I think this is pretty good. Emerald Steel has a Damage Matters deck that is getting a lot more fleshed out in this set, and I think this sees a slot in that quite comfortably. I think it's pretty good. And finally, a couple of locations. A 1-costed inkable location with 1 move, cost 6 on the willpower. Hidden Cove, Tranquil Haven with Revitalizing Waters. Characters get 1 strength and 1 willpower while here. This is a common card with art by Roberto Gatto. Don't rate this much. It needed stick an ink on this. It's fine. Like otherwise, you know, it's just helping you get slightly trade ups, helping some stuff not get killed by Medusa maybe, but you're still having to put resources into getting all that online. Don't really see it playing out myself. The other one, though, I do quite like. This is a 4-costed inkable 2 move cost 7 willpower Ursula's Garden. Full of the unfortunate. Abandon hope. While you have an exerted character here, opposing characters get -1 lore, and it has a passive lore on it as well. Rare card with art by Jonathan Lives List. Okay, in the mirror, I think this is really good because you're going to shut down your merfolks and your Flynns, and they're not going to be able to get rid of this very easily. So I think in the mirror, this is fantastic, and the fact that it's the fact that it's inkable means it probably could find a home in the deck somewhere. Queen's Castle is currently getting played in Emerald Amethyst, excuse me. Very often isn't really able to stick around, do what you want it to do. Maybe that goes down to 2 and this goes to 2. I don't know. I do think this could see a little bit of play. You can move something over here, swing it sideways, and then really mess up the mirror match or any sort of aggro-y deck, really. Other than that, this thing just gets, they just pile into this and kill the exerted character or kill this quite comfortably. But I do think this could see some play if the meta is right for it. There we go. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you've enjoyed it. We'll be carrying on with these. We've got 3 more to do. Going to try and get them all out by the Monday or Tuesday of next week, and then we will hopefully get some product to look at, and then we can start looking at some decks for set 4. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, you can give us a like. It really does help out the channel. And if you're not already, don't forget to subscribe. Until the next one, be good.